Let's save exactly a scene just because we can. Stop stacking and let's go to G280 here. And let's say new observation. Well, this was another HST object. But we visited it just the same. Now we can go to M79 and see what M79 looks like. Let's back off. Yeah. If we back off, it shows us our tracking better. That's funny. The telescope leads the way, and then this field of view thing follows after it. And if I go over and get the slewing, you can watch it slew outside. And then there's also this view. Wow, that's showing you the moonlight. Just look how amazing that moonlight is. I mean, that moonlight is just wreaking havoc. But are these lists in Starry Night created by yourself, Doug? Yes. You know what I'll do is I'm going to do a video on how to make those, but I'll just show you briefly, just ever so briefly. You use a thing called Advanced Find. Let me start the live stack while we're doing this. This is what? M79. M79. We did slew a little ways, so we should have like a degree. Oh, nope. 9/100ths of a degree here, even though we slewed quite a ways. Now let's start the live stacking and clear. Okay, now while it's live stacking, let me show you what we did. This advanced find works like this. You give the see. You leave it blank if you don't want to. So if the name is anything, you can choose a database of a kind of thing. So like I chose originating database. I chose deep sky. And then under deep sky, I chose and the type is globular cluster. And then I did it again later with an open cluster. Then I did make the magnitude between like off the charts -20 up to like 10, or I forget what I put it in. But I didn't make this, I didn't change the size. So it was picking any size object. And then you do a find, and then it finds all those objects, and then you can say, add these to whatever list you want or give it a new name. So it's a pretty sophisticated, but as I look here, one thing it doesn't have is the size of the objects. So you'd have to do that manually as you go through the list. But I just got the list down to where it was like 30 objects, you know. And I said, okay, we'll just try to hit as many of these 30 as we can. So I really like the advanced finder. It's kind of like the finder in Astro Planner, frankly, to be honest. It's almost the same. All right, so we're at M79, and Let's go over to sharp cap. Oh my goodness, look how pretty this is. Now that's at 100%. Let's back off and get the full grandeur of this, maybe at something like that. This is more our style, isn't it? Look at that. So now let's go over to the info on M79. And it basically says, through binoculars, it resembles a fuzzy star. So this would only resolve to a star, a fuzzy looking star in binoculars. But a small telescope starts to show a compressed core. It's a very small angular size for a globular cluster. So it's a very tiny object, even so. Look at that. On February 3rd, we observed this. My first globular cluster looks like Christmas. So let's do a new observation and say, wow, we came back to this in celebration of Christmas, and it sure looks the part. This was so refreshing after looking at those HST clusters. Ha. And that's all we got to do. I mean, it's so quick, isn't it? Let me see if there's an image of this in Starry Night Pro. Yeah, there's Starry Night's Pro image. And there's our RASA field of view. So now let's go over to the real time. This is our actual field of view. Look at these 4 stars down here in a row. Bam, 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 bam. That kind of points to it. Did your comments from Astro Planner get imported to Starry Night? Yes. but I had to do it. I had to do it one at a time. Yeah. I had like a couple of hundred, or I forget how many, 39 sessions and like 200 some observations, and I just copied and pasted the text in from them, and I imported everything the poor man's way. Because Starry Night Pro does not yet have the capability to import using that open astronomy log, is it? OAL protocol. It can export to OAL, but it can't import yet. But I talked to the team that's developing it, and guess what? They're working on it. And they've hired a new guy to focus on the live sky web portion of Starry Night Pro. And the guy is working on the OAL importer right now. When he finishes it, by the way, it'll import to both Sky Safari and Starry Night Pro. So we get the good of the big number of people that are using the app on Sky Safari, and we're getting some of their sway, and then we'll enjoy it for Starry Night Pro on what I would consider the pro side. This is the Starry Night Pro is the product made for professional astronomers and high level, I believe, amateurs. Sky Safari to me is the layperson's planetarium program that you can use wirelessly with a phone, you know. But I think once people see all the capabilities of Starry Night Pro again and rediscover that, they're going to want Starry Night Pro if they're like a professional astronomer or an enthusiast high-level amateur. They're going to want Starry Night Pro, I think. And we're going to enjoy the benefit of that large user base of all the fans, the fanboys of Sky Safari. Anyway, this is a beautiful cluster, and I think it really does remind me of Christmas. I see you put here, yikes. Yeah, it really didn't take as long as you think, because I used copy and paste for the text. And boy, Starry Night Pro is fast. It is fast to log your observations. I'm going to be honest. I probably had 200 or 300 observations, and I did them all in probably 5 hours, 4 or 5 hours. So it went very fast. So there it is, in honor of Christmas. I should have some Christmas music playing, shouldn't I? That's beautiful. Doesn't that look like Christmas lights? Like somebody rigged those up outside their house? Okay, 7 minutes. Let's save exactly a scene and stop live stacking. You have to minimize what's in front of Starry Night Pro. And let's uncheck that. Now this one, look, it says it's not visible. And we have to trust that if it says it's not visible, it really isn't visible. Looks like you may have a double star 2 on SharpCap towards top right. Oh man, that would be awesome if we did. I forgot to look for that. Where were those 4 stars? I thought we had some stars pointing at it. There's that big white one there. Yeah, a double star up there. You were thinking of checking the field of view? You might get copyright problems if you play music. Yeah, I'd have to find some royalty-free Christmas music. You're right. Is that hard to do, to find royalty-free Christmas music? I don't even know if we can. But anyway, I want to check the field of view. Let's do it on the next object. I wonder what that is. It's a double star as well. Boy, I love this on... Look, you can just hover and find things. Spiral galaxy. See, in Astro Planner, I was really missing all this. The ability to do the planning and the observing with, like in concert with the planetarium software. I was missing it on Astro Planner. And in Sky Safari, I was missing it because it wasn't precise enough, because it would like fail on me. Even when I was running it through that thing called, what was it called that we started using? It was a more robust way to do it. Even when I did it with that more robust way, it was more robust, but it still would fail and not be precise. But this, I love it. It's following the gaze of the telescope no matter where it goes. I just love that idea. Speaking of which, let's gaze somewhere else. We have these NGCs. Let's try them. Look, M79 was on here twice. Can I remove that from this list? Oh, look, it checks it in both places. That's odd, isn't it? I wonder if I would have to go up here. I know a place I could remove it. Let's go over and look at that. Isn't the RASA's image a mirror of what you see in the planetarium view? No, because in SharpCap, I've gone here to image controls or somewhere. Where is it? You know what I'm looking for. Here it is. Flip. Under camera controls, I have it flipped horizontally to correct for that. Because you're right, without that, it's the mirror image. Good question, Frank. Oh, I know what I was going to show you. Look at this. If we go to livesky.com, this has a real-time web connection to what I'm doing. And I can look under observations, and it's going to show what I just observed, M79. And not only that, on the dashboard, it shows how other people are doing in their observations and lets you see your observations compared to others. Now, look at my observations, man. They have really shot up, haven't they, over the past couple of days? Because I put in all these imported manual observations. So I am knocking the mercury out of the top of the thermometer because I'm importing all these from Astro Planner. But that's done. Now it's real observations. But look how I'm passing up all the users in the world that are on Sky Safari and Starry Night Pro doing observations. And to be honest, I don't know how many people use that. But it lets you see real time what people are doing here. And somewhere on this board, there's a little dot for Emerald Hill Skies, for Doug. Doug is a dot right now on one of these. This shows you real time people who are right now observing. That's kind of cool, isn't it? It gives you a bunch of metrics. And then look what you can do here. You can see what you just observed. Like we just went to M79, and it doesn't have thumbnail objects for these Hubble Space Telescope versions, by the way. And then notice it has me in this Christmas cluster thing, and I've done 5 observations. And then on the observing list, I can go to the Christmas clusters for globs, and there's M79 here, M79 there, and I can say, show me all those entries, and I can find M79 down here. Maybe because I'm in the middle of this? I bet because I'm in the middle of this session now, it is, the only thing it's showing me is now look at that. Observing list details. Okay, here we go. I'm going to go to all entries and go to this and say delete the second M79, and it deletes it. And then I'm going to save that. And then that will sync it back to Starry Night Pro. Isn't that fun? I think they want to emphasize this web version a lot more in the coming days. So for instance, they've hired a programmer at Simulation Curriculum, and his full-time job is to make this better. From now on, he's 24/7. He's just working on livesky.com. So that'll make the connections better to both programs. This is my field of view indicator, by the way. So that's pretty cool. So it would let us edit it real time, and then it would sync it back to Starry Night Pro. So that's the Live Sky deal. AZ4 Runner, thanks a lot for checking in. We're on the outskirts of Louisville, Kentucky. So we're about Bortle 5, Bortle 6, right on the line between Bortle 5 and Bortle 6 on the outskirts of Louisville. Frank said, thumbs up. I'm on the Starry Night site. I see there's multiple versions. The version you want is Starry Night Pro. There's no sense in buying anything less. Because why? Because none of the others underneath it have telescope control. So you got to get the Pro, Starry Night Pro. And you pick up a lot of power with the Pro version also. I'll be doing these videos as time goes on cloudy nights, and you'll see I titled the thread 1,000 Reasons Why I Love Starry Night Pro. And you could do 1,000 videos, honestly. They won't all be as long as some of the ones I'm doing. Some of them will be very short. But there are 1,000 reasons why I like this program. And you got to get the Pro to enjoy that all. Good question, by the way, Simon. All right, let's go back to, let's see. Let's go back to Starry Night Pro now. And we've just finished M79. And because NGC 288. Oh, look what you can do. If you check this and then you pull this up, you can see when a particular object is going to be visible. And right now it's stuck on Omega Centauri. So obviously I don't know how to use this yet. Start graphing, maybe. There it is. So can we get rid of Omega Centauri? Stop charting. Okay. So this chart shows you, let's see, I'm kind of colorblind, but I think I can make this out. This is the sun, and this is the moon, and in the center of this chart is our current time, 1:15 a.m. So this object is at, see, 8 degrees right now. No, I'm sorry. This object sat already. This object sat right here about an hour ago. So you see how that works? And you can enlarge this up to right there. So it's a pretty cool deal. Now we'll hope we can redraw that, huh? How do I get it to redraw that? Maybe when I... Boy, it sure messed it up, didn't it? Maybe what I'll have to do is leave it and then come back to it. Or maybe not. Maybe... How do I refresh the view? Maybe once I go to the next object. So let's go to this NGC. Look, it's on there twice too. We'll have to remove that one as well. Let's slew to NGC 1049, and maybe when it starts redrawing. Wow. That's pretty low on the horizon. I don't know if you can see our scope right now. It's almost parallel. So I bet that one is, we need to graph this as well. NGC 1049, start graphing. Wow, I made our graph too big, didn't I? What if I do this and this? Wow. How do I let's go out here and say Starry Night Pro, how to refresh the screen. How to refresh, how to redraw the screen. You know what I'm going to do? I'm not going to pull that graph up so high anymore, because that is definitely causing us havoc, isn't it? Well, sky. Redraw. Refresh. Having not seen that, I'm going to bring up telescope control. Stop following the scope. Telescope setup. Disconnect. And I'm going to leave Starry Night Pro and reopen it and just not pull that graph up so high anymore. I could have tried to minimize and back again. You're right. Good point, Dan. Thanks for chipping in. I don't know where you're speaking from, Dan. Telescope setup, connect. Telescope control, follow scope. Yeah. So see, our scope is below that horizon. Let's open up our preferences file, see if it stays connected. Now that's my horizon. I just started live streaming on my channel. Any pointers? Check Google for your area for the best psychotherapist you can find. Dan Bartlett, California. Okay, so that's at the horizon. This line here is the actual horizon, and then this is my custom horizon. So we're not going to be able to see this object. Let's find this list we're working off of, which is this. Yeah, it's showing it now as below the horizon. So it knew it wasn't going to be long for this world. Let's go to this NGC 2298. And you can see the scope is coming around. Now the iOptron mount software, which is called iOptron Commander, is supposed to have good protection to keep the mount from colliding with the tripod. And let's just trust and hope that it does. Oh, this is up in the sky, so that's good. Yeah, Curtis is right. I was joking about this. I wasn't really. I was joking about the psychotherapist. You can go to Cloudy Nights and look for the EAA forum and use that announcement to announce it. That's one thing you can do. AZ Forerunner gave me the benefit of a good laugh. I wasn't joking. If you saw the beginning of this live stream tonight, you know that I was 2 hours late getting started because of a problem learning to connect to this mount. And I hope now that we have our fix, so we'll know how to fix that next time. I hope. Look at this. We better hurry up to this object. It is just low in our south sky, and it's supposed to be above our obstacles. So let's go take a gander at this. There's not a graphic in Starry Night Pro that I can see. So let's go now to Sharp Cap, and let's put in our target. And what was it again? NGC 2298. NGC 2298. Let's do, we slewed the entire sky that time. I mean, this, if you can see where the scope is pointing, we are at the polar opposite end of the sky. And we did. We got off about 0.22 degrees during that long slew, which really isn't the end of the world. 0.2 of a degree, 2200ths. But now we're syncing and correcting that, and now it'll enter that into the model. And next time we slew to this part of the sky, we'll be a whole lot closer. Okay, so now we're synced. So we're ready to start live stacking now. clear the last live stack. Dan says, Doug, have you given up on Sky Safari for Windows, or are you leaning to Starry Night? For me personally, I'm doing a lot more than leaning. For me, for my purposes, because there's not a native Windows app for Sky Safari, I just got tired of all the workarounds. I mean, as you know, I started out using, or you might know, I started out using Sky Safari in Android through BlueStacks, and then I switched to using Sky Safari through the Alpaca programming that a bunch of guys are doing a great job on, by the way. But just for me, it's still broke sometimes. And I just would be in the middle of a live stream like this, and my connection with Sky Safari would break. And it was too embarrassing, and I couldn't get it back. I couldn't negotiate all that stuff to get it back. So I just said, okay, I am over it. I'm just going to stop using Sky Safari. And I am now all in on Starry Night Pro, to the point that if you heard me talking a while ago, I've spent about 5 hours transferring all my observations for the past 12 months into Starry Night Pro's observation routine, so I can also let go of Astro Planner. So I've lost 2 programs in the last 3 weeks. Don't tell my wife how quickly I can unfreeze on things, please. Look at this. Is this really, this is the globular that we're looking at, isn't it? I mean, if you look at it full screen, this is what you see, and you can see it's pretty small. Let's do a color correction for this part of the night sky, because the moon is not impacting this part of the night sky quite as much. Dan, gotcha. We really don't need much stretching of this, because these are, and that's the whole reason I chose globular clusters tonight with a 99% full moon. And it's the whole reason I picked, and because of the Christmas time. I think they look like Christmas lights. Let's go to like 75% on this and look at that. That is remarkable. Now, I tell you what else we can do here. We can snap a snapshot of this using screenshot software. And I forget the name of the screenshot software I use, but it's pretty cool. I'll get you the name in just a second. I'm going to come out to about right here and snap that picture of this. And then you go down here and give it a name. And I'll just call it save as NGC 2298. I'm going to put that in SharpCap Captures. I mean in the desktop, yeah, SharpCap Captures. NGC 2298 snapshot, screenshot, whatever you want to call that. And on something tiny like this, I like that. Now let me see if I can get you the name of what I'm using. Wow, it's not telling me. I'll have to, how can I find the name of that? Oh well, anyway, it's any kind of good screenshot software that you found that you like, but I do like the one that I'm using. Rats, I wonder if I have it saved in here in one of these screens, or if it's an app and it wouldn't let me save it. But I really like the one I'm using because it lets you do regions. Gonna have to look that up and put it in the description, I guess. It must just be one of these kind of apps like Screen Shot snapshot. Well, now this is bothering me. All I'm on a wild goose chase, aren't I? More. How do you see everything you've got? All apps. There we go. Let me just scan through this real quick and see if I can pick this out real quick, because it's a great little screenshot program. If you see it, speak up, please. How will you recognize it? Earphone View, by the way, is the picture program I'm using now. Well, isn't that crazy? I really like this program and I don't have any idea the name of it. Anyway, it let me snapshot a region, and there are probably other ways to do that, I'm sure. Let's save this whole thing though, and then let's stop live stacking, and let's go back over to NGC 2298 and do our observation of this and say this, by the way, this happens to me, and I'm going to ask the people at Simulation Curriculum about this. Look, that log entry didn't work, and sometimes it does that. Add a log entry. This, now it's working. This cluster reminds me of Christmas too. Tiny but very visible in our RASA field, RASA field of view. And that's all there is to it now. So I've left Astro Planner behind, with deep respect to Paul and the guys at Astro Planner. This is just so fast now. Can I convince you to live stack M46? Yeah, is M46, what we're on tonight are clusters. Is M46 a cluster? Let me think. M46, yes, it's a cluster. I know that one. Let's leave that list for a second, and let's search for M46 and center it. Oh, that's right. I'm tied to the telescope, so what I have to do is slew there. Slew to M46. And I'll back off so we can watch it slew. I'll bring the mount there so we can keep an eye on the mount. That's pretty quick. Nice. Wow, it's nice. Wow. Looks like a snowball. M46 coming up. Wow. Dan, thanks. That was a good idea. Let's take this out to auto, and let's just check our plate solve real quick on this. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Dan. That's a beautiful object. It's interesting. I'm trying to memorize. Frank can tell you because Frank and I, 4/400ths of a degree is all it was off. Frank and I just worked on it the other night on a live stream. I'm trying to memorize the Messier list of objects, and M46 is one that I've worked on, so I kind of know what it looks like, but I had forgotten that it would be perfect for this. So clear out the last live stack. While that's starting to live stack, let's come back over here to Starry Night Pro, and let's come to M46 info, and it says it's a large and rich open cluster that contains over 500 stars. It makes a lovely sight in binoculars, as two other open clusters, M47 and NGC 2423, are visible in the same field of view. Rats, we should have checked to see if we can get those. 2423, I remember that. 47 and 2423. Let's see if we can move this out of the way. Yeah. I don't know if we have that or not. So this might be worth our time to check this. I think that's M47. So let's stop our live stacking here and tell you what we'll do. Let's stop this and go back over here to Starry Night Pro again, and minimize the thing in front of Starry Night Pro. Minimize the thing. Okay, and let's do this, like, see where my hand is. Now, what I love about Starry Night Pro is you can pick out a spot in the sky where there isn't an object. Now see, there's M47 and here's M46. So I'm going to pick right in between those two. And it doesn't matter if there's an object there or not. And I'm going to say slew to this location. And it'll take us there, even though there is no object there to use as a guide. And it's so quick to do that. So as you can see, I think we framed this up okay. Now, what was the other object? 2423. Where is? Oh, look, it's right up here. So again, I'm gonna say, give us something like this, and it did find an object that time when that wasn't quite enough. Look at that. That's so fast. Just right click, slew to this location. Too much. I wonder if it went to that location and the field of view is still catching up on us. Yeah, the field of view is catching up. Okay, I like that. I think that's going to get pretty much everything. We're a little bit, let's go a little bit over here to get the rest of M46. Starry Night Pro, man. This would have never worked in Astro Planner, and I don't think we can do this in Sky Safari because you don't get the field of view synchronized this closely to follow your gaze. I just love this. No looking back, I'm telling you. Look how precise you can tune this to get your framing set up correctly. And then when you zoom in, okay, I like that. Now let's go back to Sharp Cap and let's live stack that and clear the stack. 2438, yeah. So here's, oh, I see, 2438, yeah. There's 2438, M46. We might pick up whatever this is. Open cluster there. So there's M47, and here's NGC 2423. So 3 clusters, I hope. Let's go back over to SharpCap now, and let's, oh, that is the full sky. Wow. So what do you make of that? It looks like our RASA tipped over on its back. And when it tipped over on its back, look at this. My little observing window stayed in the middle of SharpCap. So I'm going to close that. Oh yeah, this is the one with the Planetary Nebula. Wonder if we can pick that Planetary Nebula out of M46. Should be in the lower left-hand corner, but see, that's what I was saying. Because our RASA went over on its back, I don't think our field of view is exactly, after all that trouble we went to, I don't think it's exact. Oh yeah, look, there's that Planetary Nebula. Oh yeah, this is beautiful. Let's go to 100%, and let's come down here. Look at that. Now that Planetary Nebula, let's get that name as well. Minimize the thing in front of the Planetary Nebula. Oh, that is the 2438. Yeah. Again, remember last week, Frank, when we were working on this, we were memorizing this. Is that frost on your dew shield? Yes. This is frost. And I tell you what, you can see it better right here. Look at that view. That's the scope top, like riding on top of the scope. And all of this residue here, that's all frost. Except instead of the frost is on the pumpkin, that's frost on the RASA. And this thing here, I imagine, that's probably the moon. That thing that looks like a beacon. We'll look in Starry Night Pro in a second. I think that's the moon. I love this. I love it that we can see this Planetary Nebula. And we zoom in closer to M46 to 100%. Yeah. So that's 2438. So let's go to 2438 real quick. And Starry Night Pro. Minimize the thing in front of Starry Night Pro. So I'm gonna click on this. And wait until, now notice how M46 is superimposed over the top, but look what Starry Night Pro can do. I'm going to right click here and I'm going to say select another object. And it's going to show me the objects that are in the area, and it shows them to you by name, broken down by categories. Ask yourself, does your planetarium program do this? Okay, now I'm going to select NGC 2438. And now notice when I hover over it now, it's like bring to front. If you're used to something like Photoshop, it brought that to front. And I right click and do a new observation of this and say, I know it's, oh, now this is this problem of this. Sometimes that's all the farther I can type. So I got to talk to the simulation curriculum people about this. For the time being, I just have to say delete log entry and then open up a new one. I know it's globular cluster night, but couldn't help but note that this Planetary Nebula is so cool looking, superimposed over M46. Hats off to Dan Bartlett, who requested this object, this target. It was gorgeous. It really is gorgeous. So that's that observation. And now let's do the M46 observation. Beautiful cluster indeed, with a bonus planetary nebula. Thanks, Dan. You don't have to hit save. You just X out and it saves it. Not only saves it in Starry Night Pro, which is on your desktop, but also if you go over to Live Sky and you click on observations, those observations are already in livesky.com. And what's more, you are already getting credit for doing these observations on the leaderboard. And notice how Emerald Hill Skies is green in the leaderboard, and we are way above the world, which is blue, in our observations, having done approximately 250 observations this last 24 hours, which is moving everything over from Astro Planner. But I digress. Oh, this is fun. It's 1:46, so we're in our last, I said we stop at 2, so we're in the last 15 minutes here. Let's back off now and look at the whole thing of M46. Oh, wait, we should snap a picture of that planetary nebula while we can. And I'll use my little screenshot deal. And this is save as NGC 2438 planetary on 2021-12-20. And now let's back out to look at all of M46. So it's down here. Boy, we barely got it. It's right here. So I'll snap a picture of it. It's this whole thing here. And that's save as M46. Oh, look, there's that other. Oh, no, that's the stack. I should name this snapshot. And save exactly as seen. And then let's back out to the whole picture, because this was another object up here, wasn't it? That was, minimize what's in front of Starry Night Pro. Minimize what's in front of Starry Night Pro. That was NGC 2423, or M47, rather. Stop live stacking. And minimize what's in front of Starry Night Pro. M47. Well, we could have just went over and we didn't have to look it up, did we? Now it's putting that right in the middle of our frame. And there's M47, just in a live 10-second shot. So let's just grab that while we're here. M47 live stack clear. Simon, no wonder you are remotely using your scope. 32 degrees here today and forecast 40 degrees on Christmas Day. You know, it is every bit of that in Louisville, Simon. Let's just get the 26. And it feels like 26. With the wind chill, it chills you to the bone. So I'm telling you, I would not be a faithful observer, especially using a laptop. My fingers would be freezing right now. So there's M47. That's beautiful too. Wow, look at all those. I was going to say a word about globular clusters, and this is our last 11 minutes. What I've been learning about globular clusters is, first of all, they're very old. Like the apparent age of a globular cluster can be 1 million to 10 million years old. The apparent age of the universe is just 10 or 12 million years old. So they date back to the apparent dawn of time for the universe. Globular clusters are different because the stars are mostly older stars that are typically on their main sequence aging out, like the yellow stars and the red stars. There are exceptions. There are a few now that have been found, especially that are noted as exceptions. And then, even then, astronomers wonder if they were collisions with an open cluster and the globular cluster captured the open cluster stars. So the globular clusters don't have as much nebulosity. They probably, if you stop and think about them, they're more like a little miniature hive of bees of their own, like a little miniature city or a colony of these main sequence stars that are yellow and orange and old, 10 million years. They don't travel very fast. I mean, they could be on the order of literally, for example, 5 kilometers per second. You know, not very fast compared to other things in the universe. Another interesting thing about globular clusters I'm learning is that they don't typically move around in the plane of the galaxy they're in, like the Milky Way galaxy. They don't move around in the plane of the Milky Way. Instead, they kind of remind you of comets. You know how a comet can be, I mean, the kind of comet that is like far-reaching, that sails out in the sky and then we don't see it for 80,000 years. Globular clusters are like that. They're orbiting sometimes in right angles and perpendicular to the plane of the Milky Way. And if you back off the Milky Way and look at them, they are the things that sort of throw off our average of the plane of the Milky Way disk. So there are all kinds of theories as to how that happened. Some people say, well, they might be captured by a galaxy. Some people say that's just the way they formed in the beginning. Some people say they never really had dust. They just formed as a glob of stars that are tightly wound together, and their gravity is so tight, whereas an open cluster might be 100 stars or a few hundred stars, for example. A globular cluster might be thousands of stars or even 1 million stars, like Simon, your, what is it called? Omega Centauri, right? The biggest granddaddy of them all. So globular clusters are interesting because they are so old, and yet I just want to keep saying the word apparent age, because I know that time is all relative. Remember Einstein's theory, it's all relative, depend on where you're standing. Maybe time as we know it, I mean, all you have to do is watch Interstellar. You realize that it's all relative. So maybe time as we know it gets bent, and the smartest astronomers of our day haven't yet figured out how to measure that. So all of these ages that we talk about, they're all relative to where we are and how fast we're speeding. But in a relative way, it looks like these globular clusters are slower. And these M47s, let's go look at M47 for a second, and I'll minimize the thing in front of M47. That's an open cluster. And M46 was an open cluster as well. So these open clusters, as you can see, there's a lot more space between these stars, and they tend to be bluer and whiter and hotter, and they are not as gravitationally bound. So one of the reasons why people think that they look newer is because they don't last very long. They won't last 10 million years because they're not gravitationally bound. And as they swing by things like the center bulge of the Milky Way, they might get pulled apart, and they won't even be an open cluster someday anymore because all the stars will be removed. These open clusters do tend to hang out in the plane of the Milky Way more than the globular clusters do, so they're different in that respect as well. So I really like it that Dan got us here. Simon is saying it's been fun. Thanks for the streaming, Doug. Glad that you got the Sim 70 working at last. I just want to say goodbye to all of you guys. I know you've been so faithful to hang around with us. Here's our final live stack of M47, and we'll just save exactly a scene, and then let's zero in a little bit on that and do a let's make sure we get, boy, this is a very busy star area, isn't it? There's this open cluster, M47. So this is M47 on 2021-12/20, and this is snapshot. I'll stop the live stacking and go back to wow, I really wish that our first 2 hours and 20 minutes would have worked as well as the last 2 hours have. Thank you guys for being willing to work with this. I'm learning a lot and I'm having fun, and I hope you are as well with your observing. Thank you for being a part of this live stream. It's an honor. If you watch this and you made it all the way to the end, you are a survivor. I really wish you would subscribe. It helps drive up the channel in everybody's algorithms. They see it a lot more. If you hit thumbs up, even more so. If you put a comment in, ask a question, we'll try to answer it to the video. We'll try to answer it. And I hope you have a great Christmas. This is probably the last live stream that I'll be doing before Christmas. I think there's some clouds now forecast over the next few nights. I do have another video coming about another thing that I like about Starry Night Pro, and it's some undocumented, never previously documented instructions on how to make that thing happen. And I hope you'll come back and catch that. You'll see it if you subscribe. Thank you so much for being a part of this, and I'm going to close things down. I have to go to work tomorrow. My work day starts at 9 a.m. Eastern, so I'm up at 7. So 2 a.m., I'll get home at 2:30 or 3 and at least get a nap in. I know the same might be for you. Thanks a lot for being a part. We have several that have stuck with us the whole time. God bless you. And I'm going to say goodnight from Emerald Hill Skies here. Don't forget to keep on keeping on during these tough times. And thanks for being a part of this. Emerald Hill Skies. Don't forget to check the channel, Emerald Hill Skies on YouTube, and we'll look forward to seeing you again. God bless and good night.